hype that I think the last episode of the Ninjala anime brought to the table. I think this episode, episode 21, which definitely feels like the start of season 2, is kind of like a fresh look at the world of Ninjala, more so where we're going to have our characters split off and doing, you know, multiple different things at multiple different times, where we have one group in Odeo and we have another group dealing with the Space Ninja. And that is never more apparent than in this episode, episode 21, which is the start of season 2, because it's definitely a slow start. Not my favorite episode in the anime, by any means so far, but I would say a decent way to start off season 2, although, albeit there were some issues that I'd like to talk about here in this dev diary discussion, in this Ninjala anime discussion. So hello, ladies and gentlemen, and all the core gamers out there, CAJ Man 777 here, and welcome back to another Ninjala anime discussion. Like I said, this time we're going to be talking about episode 21, which is called Tales from the Odeo Hot Springs, and mainly this is really just a setup episode for what's going to assume to be the rest of season 2. We're going to talk about the good, the bad, and the ugly, but of course, if you guys are enjoying the Ninjala content here on the channel, do me a favor and hit that like button, as well as hitting that subscribe button as we get right into it. And the episode kind of starts off on an interesting note. We actually flash back to the events of the last episode, which I wonder if the Ninjala anime is actually going to start doing. And we flash back to the events of the end of the last episode, where Leonard is telling the story of how Sean disappeared, and how he escaped and how he got captured by the Shadow Ninja and all of that. And I think it's a good refresher, especially going into a new season, what feels like the new season of the Ninjala anime, to do this. Obviously, we didn't really have too much of that in season 1 of the Ninjala anime, but it's nice to see that in this season. We're definitely going to be starting to see, like, the episodes, or what happened in the last episode, kind of come back and refresh. But that leads directly into the next scene, where obviously where Jane, Kappei, and Bareka, the people who Genunsai sent to Odeo to investigate Sean's whereabouts and the events of the Space Ninja, actually are on a plane currently flying to the airport just outside of Odeo. Flashback.
お江戸で一緒に調査を始めた。
父さんは
すまない、ベレンガ。
Ooh. Jane napping? They're both napping.
父さんが亡くなって10年以上。事故死だと聞いていたけど、本当はシャドウ忍者に。だったらこの目で見てみたい。
The whole thing of Bareka in this episode is Bareka kind of has a very similar thing to what Burton had in season 1, where Bareka's unsure if this is, you know, if she's doing the right things, if this is the path she wants to go down, and she's questioning a lot of things, much like Burton did in the first season, where Burton was unsure of his abilities. This is the point where Bareka questions, I think, the fact, is her father alive? Can she handle if he's actually gone? Or will something else end up happening that makes Bareka kind of come out of her shell, so to speak? And it's like this overwhelming tone in the entire episode that kind of feels good. To see a lot more characterization between Bareka and Burton. Because honestly, for all intents and purposes, Bareka and Burton are really the main characters. So, you know, getting to see what that they have to deal with individually within seasons, I think is just a really good call. So, as they land in the airport, of course, Kappei's grandfather decides to surprise Kappei and tosses him a kendo stick to have Kappei show him how much he's learned at the WNA. And while he's not doing that bad, unfortunately, his grandfather still says he has much to learn, as Kappei is, you know, beaten with the kendo stick. She is really concerned.
どんなもんだい。
少しは腕を上げたようじゃな。修行の成果見せてもらうぞ。
びっくりすんな。
ん？
あれがカッペイのおじいさん。さすが双子。源流祭様そっくり。
Master Genunsai!
行くわよ。
甘いわ。
まだまだ。
Those were like actually I know those were repeat poses, but those were actually like really done repeat poses.
まだじゃの
But this is where I started to notice some things in these scenes being off-model, and I wasn't really happy about it. You can see it when Kappei's laying on the ground with the kendo stick that Jane's eyes aren't even looking in the same direction, and they're also, like, really spread. Her face is kind of turned different, and Baraka is a little less off-model. But it's so much more obvious that they're off-model in the very next scene when they all have the side view talking to Genunsai, which, by the way, is Genryusai's brother. And unfortunately, it's just a situation where, because they're off-model, it's kind of hard to not notice that they're not off-model, even because they have all the characters in the scene. And unfortunately, it's not really my favorite scene to look at. In fact, this is probably, I would say, the worst shot of the entire episode in terms of model work. They definitely had better model work in the last episode for sure. But again, this could be a younger team of animators doing this scene. Again, usually you save the more senior animators for the more action-heavy movement-focused scenes. Usually junior animators kind of get these standing scenes. But while their faces are like completely off-model and their hairs are kind of off-model and stuff, the only character who doesn't really look off-model in this scene is Genunsai. But they kind of made Baraka and Jane look like chibis a little bit. Like their heads feel like they're bigger than what they should actually be, where Kappei's head is a little smaller in the scene. I'm pretty sure a couple people worked on the shot and didn't realize, oh god, the proportions aren't that good. But that's my main gripe, really, with the scene. Even Goro the cat is off-model! How could you do that one? Goro is such a simplistic design, but Goro walks into the side of the scene and Goro's off-model. That actually makes me mad. Like, I'm gonna be honest, that's not... It's not good. It's not good. It's not good. Baraka's surprised by Goro, though, in this scene, because Genryusai, I guess, sent them over via the Ninja Express, which is basically what they explain is the Ninja Express is WNA's global network, which is the safest way to transport information or goods to get to from one location to another. And Jane says she uses it, and she goes, well, I've heard of it from the teachers trying to hide the identity that she, again, is an adult. Oh, that's hard to... Even Goro's off-model!
源流祭からじゃ忍者便で送られてきた
忍者便
忍者便ってのは世界中に広がる WNA のネットワーク。忍者を駆使してありとあらゆる荷物を迅速かつ正確に輸送するシステムよ。
へえ、姉さんよく知ってんな。
But then we finally actually get to see Odeo in its proper form. Now, we've never seen Odeo in the anime yet, besides when, you know, Genunsai's dojo, where Kappei grew up in Odeo. But they do say that Odeo's a big tourist spot. Remember, they call it the Shinobi City, which is really cool, because as you guys know, that is a stage in Ninjala. It's called Shinobi City. And you can tell that they've modeled this area, just like in general, they've modeled this scene around, like, the events in Shinobi City, or the way the stage looks in Shinobi City. It's a very big tourist destination with hot springs as the main focus. And as you guys know, in the Ninjala anime, Shinobi City has a hot spring directly in the middle of it, so you can get your S energy as a gameplay mechanic. But we finally get a chance for the characters to kind of walk around Shinobi City and get this little, you know, tour of a place they haven't been. Now, Kappei's used to being here, so Kappei kind of goofs off a little bit. But Jane, Genunsai, and Baraka are really trying to investigate clues as to the whereabouts of the Shadow Ninja and what exactly is going on. Where are the Shadow Ninja located? We know that there might be a couple of them hiding around in Odeo because it's a tourist spot, so they'll be looking for anybody suspicious, which is kind of an interesting thing.
よし着いたぞ
The Shinobi City of Odeo. Also a stage in Ninjala, because sure.
どこに泊まれんのか。
じゃあわしはチェックインをしてくる
私たちは早速情報集めね。
偵察に来るとすれば人通りの多いこの辺り。
ベレカ、ほらこれ。
あのでかいやつを。ああ、外した。
下手くそやな。よっしゃ、命中や。今度はあいつを当てたる。よっしゃ、いただきや。
くそー、オイラだって。
よし、負けへんで。
Of course.
おじさんもう一回や
But as Jane and Baraka are talking, they cut over to this random side character with kind of his hat. He's kind of holding his hat down. He'll be an important character for a smaller scene that sets up something a little bit later. And Kappei ends up walking into a shooting range and ends up meeting up with this kid, and they have this little, like, small little rivalry. Kappei's kind of like comedic relief, as he usually is for this scene. So they don't, they don't necessarily have a full role for Kappei here in this episode. It's mainly focused around Jane, Baraka, and Genunsai. So it's not a bad idea. And obviously later that night they're staying at like a hotel or something within the Shinobi City itself. And Genunsai's talking to Jane, Baraka, and Kappei about, okay, so we have no leads. We don't know where the Shadow Ninja are. However, Jane kind of brings up a map on her laptop, as she did bring it with her. And she notices that the road they came in on has a path behind it. Wasn't there a path up the mountain? There was. And they haven't investigated that path up the mountain yet. And a lot of people are saying, like, well, this path is being covered up for various reasons. And they obviously come to realize that the Shadow Ninja are definitely using this path for, their own nefarious purposes. We appreciate Smug Jane in this house.
収穫なしか。
ちょっとこれ見て
これって来るとき通った道？山の方へ行く道なかった？
確かに。
加工されてるのねなかなかやるじゃない
Then we get this nice scene where we get a kind of like a girl-to-girl talk between Jane and Baraka. And I feel like this is a much-needed scene because this kind of gives more backstory into Baraka a little bit, because Jane realizes that Baraka is very nervous about the whole situation. She's very uneasy about maybe visiting the spot where her father met his demise, or meeting the spot where he might be alive, he might not be there. And Baraka's, again, she's very concerned in this episode, much like Burton was in the beginning of Ninjala Season 1, the Ninjala anime Season 1. And Jane is a really nice, like, fold to what Baraka's going through, because Jane just kind of has a better feel of, like, being able to hide it, and she understands how Baraka feels. And we get this nice flashback sequence where Baraka's reminiscing about her father, and we get to see young Baraka and young Burton, and how Baraka's father was super excited when they would fail experiments, or when they'd succeed in experiments, he'd get all crazy, his eyes would be wide and big smile, and Baraka, like, explains that they'd goof off all the time, they'd bring Burton over, and you could tell that Baraka and Burton have been friends for a very, very, very long time. And what I like about the scene is this, where Baraka's dad is actually the inspiration from how Burton kind of came to look up to Edison. In one of the little flashback scenes that plays here, Burton's dad says, "No, Burton, it wasn't a failure. We just haven't found a solution that didn't work. Have you ever heard of Edison?" And that's kind of a cool callback to why Burton looks up to Edison, and it's because of Baraka's father. That's why Burton went into research before Baraka did, because Burton was really into the science aspect and getting things right to work. Baraka only went into the research field after her father disappeared, from what I remember and can understand about the Ninjala lore. So Burton was in the field longer, and while he is older than Baraka, Baraka, again, does act as like an older sister to Burton. And this was a really needed scene. It's very cute. It's a very cute scene. It is nice to see young Burton and young Baraka, and this was needed. And you get this kind of sense of what Baraka, the reason Baraka really wanted to come here is she just wants to see her father smile one more time. And she says, "I hope my father's looking down on me now, being proud that I kind of went into research." But again, we don't know that Baraka's father's alive. While it is implied in episode 20 that he might have perished at the hands of the Shadow Ninja, in the Ninjala game, he's only missing. So whether that is still canonical or not, we do not know. We'll have to see as these episodes go on. She's having like the same issue that Burton was having in the beginning of season 1.
とっても優しい父さんだった。教えてくれた。
これでよし。結晶の歪みで紫色に見えるけど、加熱すれば白くなった。歪みが修正されたんだ。で、もっと加熱したら、
お、オレンジ色。
うまくいかない方法を一つ見つけたんだ。エジソンって知ってるか？
And that's where Burton gets it from.
そう、エジソン
Oh
の
my
言葉だ。
god.
私たちの実験が成功した時も
やったな、ベレッカ・バートン。大成功だ。
It's too cute.
自分のことのように喜んでくれた。今私が研究者になったのもどこかで父さんに喜んでもらいたい。
Then we get our next scene in the anime where Kappei notices that there is a pickpocket, and Kappei manages to stop this pickpocket, but it creates a big scene about creating the pickpocket and stopping this pickpocket. And the gentleman that gets pickpocketed actually is going to be kind of important to a plan later in the episode, which is kind of neat, that Genunsai uses. They basically are going to use this gentleman as bait earlier. And as Kappei kind of creates the scene as he stops the pickpocket, Genunsai kind of comes in and he's looking around to see, oh god, there's a scene that's been started. Let's see if I can find anything strange. And he finds just a random business dude in sunglasses, and Genunsai knows immediately, this is a Shadow Ninja scout. He's blending in too perfectly. Honestly, I think the sunglasses are a dead giveaway, but granted, the Shadow Ninja have piercing yellow eyes.
なんじゃあの人だかりは。
Uh-oh.
は
だから証拠でもあんのかよ。あんなら監視カメラの映像でも何でも持ってくいよ。
でもオイラ見たんだ。こいつが財布するの。
そういうことか。わしですら見過ごすとこじゃったわ。あの見事に消した気配。
So, you know, there's not really a lot they can do to hide that, to be fair. But as they create the scene and as, you know, Kappei manages to stop this pickpocket permanently as he, you know, tries to escape and Genunsai identifies the Shadow Ninja, the gentleman that got pickpocketed actually treats Kappei, Genunsai, Jane, and Bareka to a nice meal. And while Genunsai thinks it's a little too much, what I think is really funny is that this conversation sets up who Kappei met earlier. Kappei met a kid in this little gun range because Kappei was a comedic relief. But this kid that Kappei met is the son of the father that Kappei saved from the pickpocket. So that was really neat. And they end up using them as bait later in the episode as they realize, okay, there's a lake behind the mountain. He wanted to take his kid to see it, but then some, you know, figures just didn't let them go through. And obviously that's the Shadow Ninja. They're like, okay, you need to back away. No one can really enter this area. So that's really what gets them to investigate the path behind the mountain. And what they find is that they have rigged the path behind the mountain pretty much set up. They've got tripwires that are linked to basically wooden wind chimes, which alert the Shadow Ninja as Genunsai kind of pulls out some night vision and can see all of them in the middle of the day. I don't actually think it's night vision. I think it's some form of visual indicator. Obviously WNA tech because the thing looks super high tech in general. And what they end up doing with this is they end up kind of investigating, okay, how fast do the Shadow Ninja respond? While they work from the shadows, Goro intentionally trips one of the wooden wind chimes, which alerts the Shadow Ninja, and the Shadow Ninja kind of immediately shows up and goes, it is just a cat.
湖知ってます？
湖。
昔偶然行ったことがあってむっちゃ綺麗で息子にも見せたろう思って行きたんやけど変なやつはおるわ立ち入り禁止なんかで行かれへんようになってて
ベレッカ
He's got a more high-tech one, of course. Sure. WNA tech. And the Shadow Ninja are talking, which we never got in Story Mode Chapter 2. So this is the first time we've actually heard like dialogue from the Shadow Ninja, just in general. So it's kind of nice to see that there's going to be maybe some intensity coming with the Shadow Ninja later. Maybe they will reveal some information. Maybe they'll capture one and reveal some information. I don't know. But obviously, this is a little scouting mission, and obviously they look at the fact that they're taking supply trucks in to this mountain path and closing the door behind them. Obviously, the Shadow Ninja are up to something really, really, you know, sneaky here, or obviously hiding the meteorite site where, you know, Bareka's father ended up, you know, disappearing in this way. And again, for the most part, this is really just a setup episode for what will be happening, because later that night, obviously, they come up with a plan that, okay, the only way in is to fight our way through the Shadow Ninja. And while we might be able to get through their first line of defense, if we cross any point a little bit later, we're going to have all of them on us in an instant, so we're not going to have a choice but to fight. And while there is no direct fighting in this episode, there definitely will be in the next episode, because again, this is a setup for what is going to be happening going forward into the next Ninjala episode. So later that night, obviously, they all go in and they come up with the plan. The wooden wind chimes get tripped, and initially, the way they make it seem that this wooden wind chime actually ended up getting tripped by our group of Genunsai, Jane, Bareka, and Kappei. When, as a matter of fact, it actually isn't, and it's, again, a quick subversion of expectation in this episode, where they convince the father and the kid that they met earlier to help them with this, and it's really neat to see.
Junbi wa yoi na. わしから離れるでないぞ。お前たちにもしものことがあったら、源流祭に何を言われるかわからんからの。
大丈夫です。ついていきます。
では行くぞ。
Night Vision.
Shinju者を捕まえろ。
見つかった。
誰もおらん道やないんか。
怪しいもんやない。向こうの湖見に行こう思っただけや。ほんまや、嘘ちゃうて。
こいつらだったのか。連れて行ってやれ。はっ。
Take them to the lake. Nice subversion.
せやろ。メンタは飛び出んで。
And I actually didn't see it coming, because I thought they tripped them and they were going to have to fight the Shadow Ninja, because in an earlier scene they mentioned, oh, we're going to have to fight. But it's a small little subversion of expectations, and as the Shadow Ninja surround the father and the son, the father just goes, we want to see the lake, and the Shadow Ninja are kind of like wary about this. Then they kind of stop, and it's explained from Genunsai that the Shadow Ninja aren't going to harm anybody they don't see as a threat. They're only going to harm people they do see as a threat. So as Shadow Ninja escort the father and son to the lake, our other group of Genunsai, Jane, Bareka, and Kappei are able to sneak past the first line of Shadow Ninja defenses. And at that point, they say, okay, it's only going to get harder from here. Then we get a very interesting scene in the desert where we see the rest of the eight main cast, which we hadn't seen at all in this episode, and it kind of surprises me that we're seeing them here. But obviously, they track down a group of Space Ninja on their end, and the Extermination Squad comes in. So the rest of the main 8 retreat as the as the Space Ninja, I should say, retreat. So obviously, the Space Ninja are still a problem, but obviously, we're going to be letting the rest of the main 8 handle that, while the group in Odeo is currently handling the Shadow Ninja situation going forward. But one of the Space Ninja, of course, ends up hitching a ride back on the retreat, which obviously kind of hiding on the back of the Jeep, kind of stuck, and it's got this evil face. And that's really it for the episode. Again, this episode is mainly just setup work for the next episode, and what I thought we were gonna get mainly more like Jane, Bareka, and Kappei going forward into Odeo. The next episode, we're actually gonna like jump over from Odeo. While I think we may see a couple scenes from Odeo, we're actually gonna jump back over, and we're going to see what's going on the WNA side. We're going to see what's going on with Burton and the rest of the cast and how they deal with the Shadow Ninja and stuff like that in the next episode. So, overall, this episode was kind of a short one. I know I haven't been talking about this episode a lot myself, but this was a short episode, mainly just a setup episode. And it's a very slow start to Season 2. It's not the bang of a start I thought we were going to have, but sometimes you have to reintroduce characters. You have to reintroduce kind of like the Shadow Ninjas. You've only seen them a few episodes. You know they're evil, but you don't know like their generalized motivations. So they kind of have to set some stuff up like that. We know what's going on with the Space Ninja, so that kind of side scene, while I don't think was necessarily needed, it's going to be setting up what's going to probably happen in these next few episodes where we're going to jump from Odeo back to the WNA, the WNA back to Odeo. I think that's how the next episode, or how the episodes going through Season 2 of the Ninjala anime are going to play out. Either way, I think it was an alright episode. I'm not a big fan of the off-model stuff in the beginning of the episode. Clearly, it was a younger team of animators working on the scenes that were off-model. Most of the stuff that was moving quick was relatively on-model. The scenes with a lot of characters looked relatively on-model. But overall, kind of a slow start to the episode. Not my favorite, but it will obviously set up some more eventful stuff happening later down the line, and I'm looking forward to seeing that as well. So I want to know what all of you guys thought of this episode down in the comments section below. Let me know what your favorite part of the episode was. You guys got any theories or predictions of what's going to happen in the next couple episodes? Let me know as well down in the comment section below, and I look forward to reading all of your comments as per usual. Of course, if you guys enjoyed this episode and you enjoyed this video, do me a favor one last time and hit that like button as well as hitting that subscribe button. We just hit 2,600 subs, so thank you guys so much for that. I definitely think we can at least hit 3,000 by the end of the year. I'd like to hit 3,000 by the end of this month if that's possible. It's 400 subs, but like, I don't know. You guys have given me a lot of support. You guys have given me a lot of smiles on my face recently, just being the community that you guys are, so I, appreciate everything that you guys have done. And I look forward to working with all of you more in the future. Obviously, if you guys didn't know, I also watched the latest Ninjala Dev Diary with Naza over on Naza's channel. Naza's another great Ninjala creator. He is a competitive player as well. I'm really good friends with Naza. And it was nice to be able to sit in on a call with him and talk about the Dev Diary. After we watched it, we ended up talking 2 hours. So I will definitely link that video down either on the end card or in the description. It's a nice one to watch as we get into Ninjala Season 10, which is literally in 2 weeks, which is crazy. That literally I opened my calendar because I didn't know. I don't know dates anymore. I only know the month I'm in at this point. But yeah, that's all I really have to say, and I hope you guys enjoyed it. And of course, I will see you guys in the next one. And until then, this is CAJ Man 777 signing off. Stay safe, everybody.